Hello, my name is Amy McCants. I'm an independent demonstrator with Stampin' Up. Thank you for joining me on Ready, Aim, Stamp. Today I'm going to show you how, with just a few changes, you can step up a simple, elegant card and just take it from pretty to wow. So there are a couple of different levels here, as you can see. And the first thing I am going to do, because I'm doing 3 using the same images and the same ink, is I'm going to do all my stamping. So of course this card will get finished first because that's all it is paper and ink. And then we'll finish these 2 cards. So today I am using the To a Wild Rose bundle. And we'll use just the stamp set on the basic card. And then we'll use the stamp set and the dies for the other 2 cards. And on the last card, we're going to add the element of this ornate floral 3D embossing folder. You could stamp the background, but sometimes it's fun to give it that little bit of raised embossed texture. So you'll also see that this one has some metallic pearls on it, and I don't know how well it'll show. I also used my Wink of Stella pen on the word blessed. I don't know if that's gonna show in the video or not. Hopefully it does. I love Wink of Stella. All right, so let's ready, aim, and stamp. So for all of these, I am using a card base made out of Very Vanilla, and it is my go-to of 8.5 by 5.5, scored at 4 1/4. And then for these ones, I'm also using additional pieces of Very Vanilla, as well as a layer of crumb cake that is 4 inches by 5 1/4 inches. All right, and then we'll use the Tombow multi-glue and dimensionals to adhere everything together. All right, so for the first one, this is my scrap. I am going to burnish the fold on that base. Use my bone folder. And then I am going to keep this out so that I can also get my sentiment on there. The sentiment is actually 2 pieces from A Wild Rose. Blessed to be your friend. And I just use my grid paper to line them up. And then I'll pick them up with the block. And my grid paper is laminated, so they kind of stick to it a little bit, which can be nice because then you don't have to worry about them shifting. So then I just am going to take my block and press down to pick them up. Hopefully this is in the camera view. There. So now it's on my block and it's lined up to where I think it should be fairly straight. I have to get like over top of it. I think Blessed might be a little crooked, but I'm gonna go with it. All right, so I'm gonna use Soft Suede is the only ink color I'm gonna use for this whole thing. I'm just gonna be generous with that ink. And for the simple card, the 1-layer card, it's just, I'm just gonna line it up down here in the corner. Just eyeballing it. And there we go. And then over here, I have this other paper that I am gonna stamp twice on, and I need to give it some space so that I can die cut that fancy label around it. So I'm going to do one on this end, and then I'm going to test it and see if, lay my label over it, or my die over it, and make sure that I left myself enough room. To also have my image. Oh yeah. So there, we'll have that. And so I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing on this other side, since we are doing the 3 cards. And it doesn't have to be straight or anything, because you can line up the die cut based on the image on these ones, which is nice. All right, perfect. Now I'm going to clean off that stamp. And put those back. And I need my little foam pad. This is the foam pad from the Stamparatus. It just gives that cushion for the photopolymer stamps to help with your images. Sometimes your image might not be quite as clear when you're using the photopolymer stamps. So then I have 2 pieces of scrap of the Very Vanilla that I grabbed out for the flowers. And then in a little bit I'll do all that die cutting. So first I'm going to stamp the flower outline. And a trick for the wild rose for lining it up that I had learned from another demonstrator, and I'm sorry I don't remember who it was that you line up your image with the image on the case, and that will tell you, and if you put a little black dot on the back of your photopolymer stamp with a Sharpie or something, then that will tell you which petal lines up with each piece, because they're lined up on the cover the correct way. So I've done that to all 3 of my pieces to kind of help me know which petal they line up with. So once again, I'm going to take this, I'm going to flatten it out so it doesn't jump up and get ink where I don't want it. So for the outline, I'm using the first inking on my rose, and I'm just going to kind of line it up there. And then I am going to do that 2 more times. I'll try that. And I just need to give space on this one for my die cut. And one more time. And then I just kind of have to remember that this petal is the one that's the lineup. All right. Now I'm going to switch to the background of the rose that has the most space. I'm going to use it next. And again, I'm still just using the soft suede. Here's my little mark telling me that that's the petal that I'm lining up. Now I'm going to bring in a piece of scratch paper, because for these next ones I need to stamp off. I did get, look at that, I got my ink pad on that card. So I'm going to ink it up, and then on this one I'm stamping off twice. And then I'm going to bring it to my card and just line that up and stamp. And that gives you just that light, kind of a sepia tone, I guess, is what I get with these cards. So then I'm going to do that again. Doesn't matter where you ink off at. I just think it's fun to see the different layers. So and one more time. When I was making the sample, I had to do it twice because I got distracted speaking to my husband and kids and forgot to stamp off on one of the layers, and it was just way too dark. No definition. All right, so we have our 3. We're going to do one more layer of the rose. And this one we're only going to stamp off once because we want it to be kind of that mid shade. All right. And again, there's their little dot to tell us that that lines up with that one. This one I have a harder time lining up, but stamp off. Try not to get my head in the way. Line it up. And look at that, beautiful layers of color on that. Okay, so now we just need to do that 2 more times. Stamp off. This is the layer I had forgotten to stamp off on. It was just... Sorry if you can hear my cat in the background. He must think he needs wet cat food or something. There's that one. And stamp off. Okay. There. Now I'm going to clean that off and we're going to switch to the leaves. And I'm only going to use one. I'm going to use the outline of the leaves. And I'm going to use just this one. So first I like to do the outline. And this is going to be at full ink, the first inking. And I'm just going to put this one going that direction. And then I think I need my scrap paper under, just in case this leaf goes off. I think it will. There's that one. And then I need 2 leaves for each of these. And again, I need to leave just a little bit of room so that when I run it through to die cut, I have that little bit of edge. Make sure my fingers are not all inky. All right. So our simple card is almost complete. And it will be after this next step. Okay, so this one, like I said, I am going to use the second inking. So I'm going to stamp off and then stamp, try to line this up. guess I want this under here. There we go. Stamp off. Line it up. There we go. Our simple card, one layer card, whatever you want to call it, is complete. So then I just need to finish the 2 Step It Up cards. Don't forget to ink off. Yes, I have to remind myself of that every time, because my habit is to just take it over the paper and stamp on it, and I forget what I'm doing. There we go. And there we go. Our stamping is complete, and now we have 2 sets to die cut to finish out the next 2 cards. All right, so now we are going to line up our dies, and I will have to, of course, run these through a couple times, twice to get my leaves, and then because I'm doing 2 cards at once. But if you have the magnetic plate, you can use it, or you can use some washi tape to just temporarily secure that. And that's what I'm going to do this time. Is I'm going to line up my die where I want it. Whoops. Trying to center that on for this design. And just secure that. Then I am going to line up my, let's see, nope. Sorry, sometimes it takes me a while to figure out where, there it is. How that rose goes. I should probably put a dot on my die cut too, and that would tell me which petal is the one. Okay. Right, so I'm going to run these through the die cut machine, and I am going to spritz one of my pieces of crumb cake cardstock, or soft suede, not crumb cake, sorry, and run it through the ornamental floral die, or embossing folder, and then I will be right back. All right, I've gotten our pieces die cut and the one for the next layer embossed. All right, so here's our one with our simple ink and paper, and we're getting ready to do the next one that just kind of stamps it up a little bit. So to do that, we are going to take a piece of 5 1/4 by 4 inch soft suede cardstock, and we're going to put some multi-purpose glue on that. And we're just going to center that on the front of our card base. Give it that little bit of a frame. And then we're going to layer on our sentiment that's on that die cut tag. And just line it up. You'll notice that on all 3 of these cards, I kept the layout the same and just added elements and changed things up a little bit. I'm going to put the rose on using dimensionals, but I am going to glue the leaves down. But I'm going to put the rose down first before I glue on the leaves. I'm just going to have it kind of overlap the frame. So, and this can overlap also our little petals or leaves, I guess. And I just want to make sure it can go off of the edge of the layering. I just don't want it to go off the edge of the card because otherwise it'll be more difficult to get onto the, or into the envelope. Okay, so there's our stepped up just by adding layers and die cutting. Here's our simple, stepped up. And now we're going to step it up one more time, adding bling. So here are the same elements, only I have die cut, or I mean embossed this layer of soft suede, but I'm still going to use the liquid glue and just adhere it centered to that card base. I am going to take my Wink of Stella brush, and you just squeeze to get some glitter to come out, and I'm just going to kind of sloppily follow the letters for the word blessed, just to get a little bit of extra sparkle on there. Oh, there, you can see it. So then adhere it down with the multi-purpose glue, following the same basic layout as the other 2 cards. And then before I stick the dimensionals on this flower, I'm going to take my metallic pearls, and these ones are the gold. If I can open the package. Helps if you look at it from the right side, right? And I'm just going to take 3 of those and kind of just place them in the center of that flower. You could do more. I think 3 looks pretty. You could also put some Wink of Stella on the flower petals, and that would look very pretty too. Now I'm going to put my dimensionals on there. All right. Follow that same basic layout. Now for my leaves. There we go. So there we have the 3 levels from simple to stunning my kids play video games, so they would say level 1, you've beat it. Level 2, you beat it. Level 3, boss battle. So thank you again for joining me for Ready, Aim, Stamp. I hope that this gave you some inspiration to try maybe stepping up some cards and trying some monochromatic or whatever. Thank you.